Sound check. Testing 1. Sound check. Test. Sound. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Sound check. You can hear me on the back? We're good? Alright, praise the Lord. Well, thank you so much for that kind of introduction, Pastor Larry. You know, that's the kind of introduction that gets me excited to hear myself speak. So I'm now excited to listen to my sermon because of that kind of introduction. Praise the Lord. Truly, it's a great privilege to join you this morning, celebrating 12 years of God's faithfulness to JRM Appeal. And so again, let's give the Lord a clap offering. If not for His faithfulness, you and I will not be here this morning. If not for His loving kindness. And that's what the theme is all about, the loving kindness of God. And you know, it's so great to thank the Lord for what He has done, because today is also Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. And so let's just greet the people around us. Come on, happy Thanksgiving. Come on, just turn around. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Praise the Lord. And the celebration will not be complete without some turkey or chicken or better with joy. Alright. Praise God. And I was reading Psalm 107, and just the first 2 verses, the psalmist made this declaration. The psalmist said, "Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, and His loyal love endures." In other version, His loving kindness. And then in verse 2 he said, "Let those delivered by the Lord speak out, those whom He delivered from the power of the enemy." And so friends, in response to God's loving kindness, we need to speak out. We need to continue sharing what had happened to us. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom He has redeemed from trouble. And so friends, I was thinking about this, and I believe that the best response to God's loving kindness is to continue walking with the Lord. Amen? It's to continue running the race. It's to continue sharing our faith. It's to continue declaring that indeed Jesus Christ is Lord and King. Amen. Now, if you look around us, I'm sure there are some faces that were here a year ago that we don't see anymore. Now, that is sad. It's okay if they move to another church. At least they're still running the race. But what makes me feel really sad is, how about if they stop running the race, they quit pursuing God, and then they are pursuing a lifestyle that is no longer pleasing to the Lord. And so I thought this morning, you know, if there's something that we need to, the best way to respond to God's loving kindness is on the 13th year anniversary of this church, that all of us will be here and more faces that we will see. Amen? Amen. And so how do we keep on running the race? How do we continue pursuing God, whatever happens this year? And so God will set up a lot of things for us this year. There will be changes, that's for sure. All of us will be a year older this year. There will be challenges, and there may even be a crisis. But going through all of this, what is it that will guarantee that you and I will continue running the race? Because I believe that's the best way to respond to God's loving kindness. Psalm 107 verse 2, "Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom He has redeemed from trouble." So how do we continue pursuing God and making a stand for what is right and declaring that indeed our God is good? And so friends, this morning, I'd like for us to meditate with this topic, how to keep pressing on. And if you have your Bibles with you, you can open to Philippians chapter 3, verses 10 to 14. Philippians 3, 10 to 14. And hopefully these 5 verses will, how you and I can truly celebrate this 12th year of God's loving kindness by our response of pursuing to run the race, no matter what happens this year or in the years to come. You know, this topic this morning reminds me of one of the dramatic moments during the 19th Olympic Games held in Mexico City in 1968. And this was for the 42-kilometer marathon event. There were 75 runners who started the race, but only 57 completed the race. 18 dropped out. They did not cross the finish line. The number 57, the last person to cross the finish line, is a runner from Tanzania. His name is John Stephen Akwari. Now, while they were running, halfway through this 42-kilometer race, they were jockeying for position, and somehow he tripped, he fell, he dislocated a joint in his knee, and then wounded his shoulder. The paramedics came and tried to apply some first aid to him. He was advised to be taken to the hospital, but to everybody's surprise, he insisted on running the race. Now the sun was already down. The 56th person already crossed the line. He is the 57th, the last one. There were only very few people in the stadium and some reporters. And so he was there, limping his way to the finish line. And as he crossed the finish line, the reporters all gathered around him and asked him, "Why did you continue running the race? It's all understandable. If you will just quit, you were hurt. Why did you continue running the race?" His answer made the headlines the following day, the most dramatic moment in the 19th Olympic Games. He said, "My country did not send me 5,000 miles to start the race. They sent me 5,000 miles to finish the race."
Wow.
What tenacity! What commitment! What determination! Friends, that's the mindset that kept him going. That's the mindset that kept him running the race, no matter how difficult it may be, despite the problems he is facing. As we all know, the Christian life is not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon race. That means, brothers and sisters, it's not so much how you start the race. It's how you end the race. You may have started in a very dramatic conversion testimony, but friends, that doesn't matter. If you will not cross the line, it's all for nothing. And so as we meditate, as we focus on this 12th year, and looking ahead to the 13th year, we want to still be here to celebrate, but more than that, we want to testify, because that's what the psalmist said. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from trouble. So friends, what is it that will help you and me to remain steadfast in our pursuit of God? What is it that will help you remain grounded in our faith and keep pressing on and running the race, despite the changes, despite the challenges, despite even the crises that you and I may face this year? So friends, I've entitled this sermon, "How to Keep Pressing On." If you'll stand with me, please, let's all read together these 5 verses. Let's all read together. Philippians chapter 3, starting with verse 10. All together now. Ready, read.
I want to know Christ and experience the divine power that raised him from the dead. I want to suffer with him, sharing in his death, in order that I may attain the resurrection from the dead. Not that I have already obtained all this, or have already been made perfect, but I press on to get hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we stand before you. We bow our heads, we kneel our hearts before you. And Father God, we ask that indeed your Spirit will be unhindered to move in our midst. Speak to each one of us. Remove any hindrance now, any tiredness in our bodies, any concern, any worry, Lord, remove them. Cover us now with the precious blood of the Lord Jesus Christ, so that indeed we will leave this celebration this afternoon with a special touch from you. This is our prayer in Jesus' name, and all God's people say, Amen and amen. Can we take our seats? I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, have read this letter of Paul to the Philippians. It's considered to be one of the most joyful letters he wrote. In fact, he used the word rejoice at least 6 times in this letter. He kept telling the congregation in Philippi, rejoice, 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 rejoice. 6 times he told them to rejoice. Now, you might think that when he wrote this letter, he was so joyful that he must be sunbathing somewhere, floating in the Mediterranean Sea on top of a cruise ship while sipping an ice-cold lemonade. Well, friends, that's not the setting when he wrote this letter. In fact, he was in prison in Rome, chained to a Roman guard 24 hours a day. He doesn't know whether he will live or die after this ordeal. So, friends, consider the situation of the Apostle Paul. He has been serving God the best way he can. He's doing all the sacrifices. He's depriving himself of many of the luxuries of life just so that he may faithfully carry on the ministry of testifying of who Jesus Christ is. And then, he's in prison. Is this the text he got? Languishing in prison, falsely accused, treated unfairly, and if found guilty, he will be beheaded. And then while in prison, he was chained to Roman guard 24 hours a day. Friends, if there's anyone who has the right to be discouraged, it's the Apostle Paul. If there's anyone who has the right to give up, it's the Apostle Paul. But friends, this is not the message that we are getting in this letter. In fact, twice in those 5 verses that we have read, he said, I press on, I press on. You see, there's something here about his attitude. There's something here about his mindset that kept him running the race even in the midst of difficulties. And that's the thing about the Christian life, isn't it? We do not know what will happen in this race as we run. As I've said, there will be changes. There will be challenges. There might even be a crisis that we have to face. Friends, I believe that if we have the same mindset as the Apostle Paul, if we imbibe the same attitude as the Apostle Paul, then you and I can weather the storm and actually finish the race, even if we have to limp our way to cross the finish line. Brothers and sisters, in these 5 verses, I see that there are 3 commitments you and I need to make if you want to continue running the race and be here for the 13th year anniversary. Do you want to be here in the 13th year anniversary? Amen. Let's learn these 3 commitments. I'd like you to notice some of the words the Apostle Paul used here. For example, in verse 10, he said, I want to know Christ. Friends, he knows what he wants. That's very important. In verse 11, he said, in order that I may attain. That means, friends, he has a specific goal in mind. You know what these words are telling us? It's telling us that the Apostle Paul had a goal in mind. There was this one thing that he'd like to accomplish in his life. And this is one of the keys that helped him keep pressing on despite the difficulties. If I ask you this morning, what is your goal in life? What is that one thing that you really want to accomplish? What is your purpose for living? For the Apostle Paul, he made it very clear. He said, in order that I may attain. Friends, in order for us to finish the race, number 1, we need to fulfill our purpose. We need to fulfill our purpose. We need to have a goal in life. You see, everything in life hangs on that one word. One word. Everything in life hangs on that one word. And that word is purpose. Why is that so important? Well, friends, if you have no purpose, your life is worthless. There are many people committing suicide because they've lost their purpose. They find that life is meaningless. It's worthless to continue living. If you don't have a purpose, your life is worthless. But, on the other hand, if you have the wrong purpose, then your life is wasted. If you have the wrong purpose, your life is wasted. Now, there are people today who make it their life's purpose just to get rich. You know, I want to migrate to Canada so that I will get rich. Because in the Philippines, I'm stuck right here and I'm not, growing my profession. I'm not being promoted here. I'm just stuck right here. And so I'm going to migrate to Canada. Some people, they make that as their ultimate goal just to get rich. To accumulate all the things in life that they can accommodate. Friends, I have nothing against getting rich because that can be the fruit of your labor. I have nothing against migrating to Canada to, enjoy the fruit of our labor. Because here, for sure, if you really work hard, the first 3 years you have to work 2 jobs, and you try to do it everything so that you can finally get a mortgage, you finally bought your own house, and then you're paying for this, and then you have the opportunity to buy another house, have it rented, and then you were able to buy another apartment, have it rented. Wow! Pretty soon you have 3 or 4 properties already being rented. You don't have to work anymore. There's so much time, there's so much money, and you know what happens? The family disintegrates. There are no more temptations. With more time and more money, and this is what the Apostle Paul warned us about. He said here in 1 Timothy 6:9, but people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmful destruction. You see, friends, what this is telling us? Riches can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse. Isn't that true? It's sad, but it's true. Some families came here to Canada. They were intact when they came. They were struggling the first 3 years. And then, when life became more comfortable, when they had all the comforts in life, then they lost their purpose. The family disintegrated. They had a divorce, and the kids are now on their own. It's sad, but it happens. And that's why the Lord Jesus Christ gave us this warning. He said here in Matthew 16:26, but what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? You see, friends, there are people today who have mortgaged their soul for riches. There are people today who gave their soul as a collateral for fame. But for the Apostle Paul, what kept him running the race even in the midst of difficulties? He said, I want to know Christ. Friends, that was his purpose. Know your purpose. Fulfill your purpose. And friends, first of all, our purpose should be to know Him personally. The Apostle Paul said, I want to know Christ. Notice the Apostle Paul didn't say, I want to know more about Christ, but he said, I want to know Christ. You see, there's a world of difference between knowing Jesus Christ mentally and knowing Him in our heart, experientially. In fact, some of the most awful words Jesus Christ will ever utter on Judgment Day is when people come before Him on Judgment Day and people will say to Him, that's it, I want to know about Christ, and instead of I want to know Christ. People will say to Him on that day, Judgment Day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons and perform many miracles? Wow! I mean, if you see these people performing miracles and driving out demons in Jesus' name, there's no doubt in our minds that they are Christians, isn't it? There's no doubt because how many of us here have driven out demons and, perform miracles? Probably not many. But these people, they are doing it. And they're doing it in Jesus' name. There's no doubt that these are Christians. But the most awful words Jesus Christ will say to them, I never knew you, away from you, evildoers. Friends, those are the scariest words. Try to imagine, you've been coming to church Sunday after Sunday, you give your money, the tithes and offering, you sing praises to the Lord, and then on Judgment Day, you are going to be turned away, and Jesus Christ will say to you, I never knew you. Friends, those are the saddest words. I don't want to hear those words on Judgment Day. I want to know for sure that I'm going to heaven. And friends, going to heaven is not a matter of performing religious duties. It's having a personal, intimate relationship with Jesus Christ. In fact, the word know there, I never knew you, it means to know someone personally through experience. Do you have a vibrant, healthy, personal relationship with Jesus Christ? That's what it's all about. It's not just coming to church. I don't care if you're a member of JRM. I don't care which church you're a member of. That will not take you to heaven. It's only having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I mean, it's important to become part of a church. It's good that you're part of JRM because here you will grow. But friends, that's not the guarantee. It's having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And then, the Apostle Paul continues saying, not only should we know Him personally, he said, experience the mighty power that raised Him from the dead. That's His goal. That's His purpose. Not only to know Him personally, but to know Him powerfully. He said, I want to know Him powerfully. I want to experience this power that raised Him from the dead. I mean, friends, tell me, how much power do you need to raise somebody from the dead? I mean, if you're one of these paramedics, you know, you got a call and then somebody just flatlined. Now what do? Somebody flatlined you. Get your paddles, you turn it on. Okay, clear. And then you put it on his chest and then the body actually lifts from the bed where he's lying down. Because there was so much power there just to jumpstart the heart. That's about 300 joules of power. But friends, how much power do you need to raise somebody from the dead who's been dead for 3 days? I can guarantee you there's not enough power in the whole of Canada to raise somebody from the dead who's been dead for 3 days. But friends, that's the power of God that raised Him from the dead. And the Apostle Paul said, I want to experience that power. I want to live with the power in my life that raised Jesus from the dead. I want that power over sin. I want that power over situations. I want that power over self. I want that power over Satan. I'm tired of becoming a victim of Satan. I want to be a victor for the Lord Jesus Christ. Is that your goal? Is that your purpose? You want to experience Him personally. You want to experience Him powerfully. And then thirdly, he said here, now this is the most interesting here. He said, I want to suffer with Him, sharing in His death. Wow! Have you ever heard somebody pray that kind of prayer? I want to suffer with Him. I mean, most of us, if not all of us, have seen the Passion of the Christ. You saw the suffering He had to go through. I mean, I don't even pray that prayer. Lord, I want to suffer the same way. No, Lord, please spare me from that kind of suffering. That's my prayer. And yet the Apostle Paul, he said, I want to experience, I want to suffer with Him, sharing in His death. Friends, thirdly, the Apostle Paul, he wants to experience Him, know Him passionately. No wonder, even in prison, he could rejoice. Why? Because imprisonment is nothing compared to what Jesus Christ went through. And so friends, if we have this kind of purpose, everything in life hangs on that one word, and that word is purpose. What is your purpose? The Apostle Paul just said here in verse 10, This is my desire, this is my goal, this is my purpose, this is my ambition. I want to know Him personally, I want to know Him powerfully, I want to know Him passionately. Brothers and sisters, is that our desire? Is that our purpose in life? You see, the critical issue, if you want to keep pressing on, is that everything hangs on that one word, purpose. Why? Because it's the purpose, friends, that determines your priorities. It's your purpose that determines your priorities. Amen. If you have no purpose, then you'll just attend all party invitations. If you have no purpose, then you'll just watch any movie. Even if it's 50 Shades Darker, was that the title of that movie? If you have no purpose, you'll just watch any movie. If you have no purpose, you'll hang out with anybody. Because, friends, purpose determines your priorities. If your purpose is to know Christ, then Bible study becomes a priority, isn't it? If your purpose is to know Christ, then prayer meeting becomes a priority. If your purpose is to know Him, then, friends, whatever circumstance you go through, you know you can know Him better under adversity than prosperity. Isn't that true? So, friends, if they are not aligned with your purpose, it's not your priority. I love these words from Rabbi Zacharias. He said, any pleasure that refreshes you without diminishing you, distracting you, or sidetracking you from the ultimate goal is a legitimate pleasure. What that means, brothers and sisters, is that the fundamental prerequisite for defining what's really important is to first establish the purpose of life itself. That means, friends, whatever you do in life, the activities you get involved in, the places you go to, the movies that you watch, the websites that you visit, the people that you associate with, whatever you do in life, they should not diminish you, they should not distract you, they should not sidetrack you from your ultimate goal. And if your ultimate goal is to know Christ, then, friends, that will determine your priorities. Amen. Let's break this down. Let me see the hands of all the students here. High school, college, university. Come, just raise your hands. All the students. Students. Nag-aaral ka pa kapatid, ha? Oh, praise God. I mean, just the students. What's your goal as a student? All students, our goal is to graduate. I mean, that should be our goal. In fact, if you're a Christian, your goal is not only to graduate. You want to graduate with honors. That's a lofty goal, but that should be our goal because our God is an excellent God. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. That's what the Bible says. You want to graduate with honors. Now tell me, if that's your goal, then that determines your priorities. If your goal is to graduate with honors, then spending so much time with Facebook, will that diminish you? Will that distract you? Will that sidetrack you from your ultimate goal? It can. It can. How about having a boyfriend and a girlfriend? Will that help you graduate, or will that diminish you? Will that distract you, or will that sidetrack you? Now, friends, please do not misunderstand me. I'm not saying that it's sin to have a boyfriend or girlfriend. For some people, it inspires them to graduate. You know, having a boyfriend and a girlfriend can, give you that push to really pursue it. But we all know, we heard of stories. Those who had a boyfriend never did graduate. They got an MD, a marriage degree. And so, friends, it's for you to evaluate your own life. What is it that you're doing right now when you visit pornographic websites, when you hang out with some of your questionable friends? Will that diminish you? Will that distract you? Will that sidetrack you from your ultimate goal? And that is to know the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not saying you don't hang out with some of your non-Christian friends. In fact, we need to have friends who are not Christians. But if you are not drawn, that is something that is sidetracking you. That is something that is distracting you from your ultimate goal. So, brothers and sisters, if you want to keep pressing on, number one, fulfill your purpose. And as Christians, our purpose is to know Him and to make Him known. That's what Psalm 107 verse 2 says. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. whom He has redeemed from trouble. We are to know Him and to make Him known. That's our goal. If you're here this morning and you claim to be a Christian, then friends, that's your goal. To know Him and to make Him known. Next we see here, not only to fulfill your purpose, but He continued in verse 13. He said, "But I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead." Friends, number 2, if we are to continue pressing on and running this race, number 2, we need to forget our past. We need to forget our past. The Apostle Paul said, forgetting the past. Do you know how hard it was for the Apostle Paul to forget his past? I mean, by his own admission, he said, "I'm the worst of sinners. I'm the worst of sinners. I'm the chief of sinners," he said. Why? Did you know that he used his own authority to murder Christians? He arrested them and then put them to prison and then killed them. He was a murderer. He was the worst of sinners, he said. Can you imagine how that past can haunt you in your present? Thinking of all those men and women and children that you have murdered because you were blindly following a certain belief. And so the Apostle Paul said, first of all, we need to forget our past guilt. That's the first thing, forget your past guilt. He could have walked around all his life with this tremendous burden of guilt crippling him because he's a murderer. And friends, if he allowed that, then he would not be the kind of apostle that we know him today. Friends, he refused to be haunted by the ghost of his guilt. He buried those things in the grave of God's forgetfulness. Not only should we forget past guilt, we should also forget past grief. I mean, we all have experienced heartaches, we have some tears, we have some traumatic experiences. I was talking to a young student, and she was suicidal. And trying to find out why she was suicidal, it's because of her past. She was molested when she was a little girl. And that molestation has somehow been there in the back burner. And that kind of grief is eating away her present. And she's beginning to lose her future. Friends, when we say forget past grief, we're not trying to say that you minimize the pain of what had happened in the past. We need to grieve of some of the bad things that had happened to us. Parents who abandoned us, uncles who abused us, classmates who made us a laughing stock in school, bullies in school who humiliated us. I mean, all of these are painful experiences. But brothers and sisters, you cannot remain in your past. You cannot just be licking your wounds and stay in the corner for the rest of your life. You need to move on. You need to let go of those griefs. Yes, spend some time if you need to grieve. But after the grieving, you need to wipe your face. You need to move on with your life. Some people are not going to their future because they're tied to their past. Bitterness is eating you up. You know, this office mate who stabs you in the back, and the moment you enter the office and you see her face, you lose your sanctification. I mean, there are people like that, isn't it? But friends, you cannot move to your future if you're tied to your past. The past grudges, we need to let go of them. Refuse it. You have to release it. You need to let God replace it with grace. Do not let bitterness take root in your heart. So friends, brothers and sisters, forget your guilt, forget your grief, forget your grudges. We need to learn to let go and let God. Learn to let go and let God. You cannot finish this race if you're tied to your past. You need to let go. Sige na. Yes, nag-autang siya. Yes, hindi ka pa binabayaran. Just pray for him. Lord, kunin niyo na siya, Panginoon. No, don't pray that prayer. But what we're saying is you have to let go and let God. Don't let that control you. Let go and let God. For the Apostle Paul is past grief, instead of becoming impediments, they became inspirations. For the Apostle Paul is past guilt, instead of becoming stumbling blocks, they became stepping stones. He learned to put the past in the grave of God's forgetfulness. Brothers and sisters, I want you to listen to three realities. Reality number one, forgetting that one. Here, it doesn't matter what your past has been, it's what you do with the present that determines your future. It doesn't matter what your past has been, it's what you do with the present that determines your future. It's what you do now. It's what you decide now. Again, in this sermon, I'm going to ask for people to just present themselves to the Lord, and you're just committing yourself to God, and you want to say to God, Lord, in the next year, before the 13th year anniversary, I want to be totally dedicated to you. I want to continue running the race. I want to be here on the 13th year anniversary of this church. In fact, Lord, I want you to use me so that more faces will be here. More people will be here. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom He has redeemed from trouble. Statement reality number two, it doesn't matter how low you sunk in sin, it's what God does with you if you repent. Yes, you've done some bad things in the past. Yes, you did some awful things. But friends, the love of God, His loving kindness, His love covers a multitude of sins. Are you willing to commit these sins to the Lord and repent of these sins? Reality number three, friends, it doesn't matter what happened to you in the past. What matters most to God now is what you can be in the present. God wants you. God wants to use you. God wants you to grow in His grace and be the trumpet of God's blessings. Forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. Friends, that's the right mindset. That's the right attitude. So we have two now. We are going to the last three now. The last third one. So first of all, we learned here to fulfill our purpose. What's our purpose? To know Him, to make Him known. Number two, if we are to run the race, we need to forget our past. And what we need to do? Let go and let God. And then lastly, if we are to keep pressing on in this Christian marathon, we have here, we need to face your predicament. Number three, you need to face your predicament. Friends, I don't have to be a prophet to tell you that there's going to be challenges ahead of you in this next year. I don't have to be a prophet to tell you that there's going to be changes in this next year. I don't have to be a prophet to tell you that there might even be a crisis in this next year. But whatever you're facing, friends, you need to face your predicament. Here's what the Apostle Paul said in verse 12. He said, now that I have already obtained all these, or have already, not that I have already obtained all these, or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on. That means, friends, he recognized that there are hurdles along the way, but he's making a choice. He's making a declaration. He's saying, I will not quit. In verse 13, he said, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing. Again, he realized his present predicament. He's in prison. He's chained to a Roman guard 24 hours a day. But friends, he's not looking back. Instead, he's looking ahead. And then in verse 14, he said, I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize. That means he has already evaluated what it takes to finish the race. And his decision, not to quit running, to continue running the race. Friends, whatever happens in life, if we keep pressing on, you and I, we need to face our predicament. Next month, November, will be my 48th year as a born-again Christian. I know that's before some of you were born here. That was 1977 when I got born again. And there's one lesson I learned in these 40 years of running this race. Friends, I want to share this with you. If you can copy this, please do. Here are the words you cannot rise above your predicament unless you know your real identity and realize your true potential. You and I cannot rise above our present predicament unless we know our real identity and realize our true potential. You see, as we've said, all of us will face problems and difficulties as we run the race. The only question is, what particular predicament? That's the only question. It may be a word from the doctor, and the doctor says you have terminal illness. It may be a word from your boss tomorrow, and the boss says, this is your last day at work. It may be a word from the immigration office, and they say you have to go back to the Philippines. We're not renewing your work visa. Whatever it is, friends, these are predicaments. And you can be bitter towards God and think that God, is not worth following. But friends, we need to realize here, first and foremost, that you need to realize your identity to determine your ability. You need to know who you are so that you know what abilities you have to face this predicament. It's true, friends. Understanding first who we are will determine what we do. Understanding first who we are will determine what we do. That means, friends, it's the being that determines the doing. It's the being that determines the doing. Friends, unless you know your real identity, you do not know your true potential. The Bible makes this very clear. In the letter of Paul to the Romans, he said here in chapter 1, verse 7, to all in Rome. Now, he wrote this about 54 AD. He said to all in Rome. But friends, we can change the word Rome and change it to all in Mississauga. Alright, let's just change that. We're still in context here. To all in Mississauga. Now, if your mind is wandering somewhere because there's so many people in Mississauga, let's make it more specific. To all in JRM here in Mississauga. Alright, right now. So that means, friends, he's talking about you. He's talking about me. Don't look around. It's about you. And then he said, first of all, you need to realize to all in JRM who are what? Who are loved by God. You see, we need to realize that. God loves me. God loves me. Whatever happens in life, God loves me. Come on, tell the one sitting beside you, God loves you. Come on, just turn around. Say, God loves you. God loves you. God loves you. But do you know that's the easiest thing to neglect, to throw out of the window? When you hear the doctor say you have terminal illness, it's so easy to question, does God really love me? If you lose your job tomorrow, it's so easy to miss the truth that God loves you. When the immigration people are telling you to go back home to the Philippines, it's so easy to just forget about the love of God, isn't it? If you still don't have a boyfriend, it's so God, do you love me more? I still don't have a boyfriend. I think it's the first thing to go out of the window, isn't it? God loves us. Not only that, remember your identity. Christ loves you. He died for you. You're so important to God. But then secondly, now that you have been loved by God, now that Christ already died for you, it says there, we are called to be what? Saints. We are called to be saints. Wow. That's who we are. We are saints of God. Come on, tell the one sitting beside you, you are a saint of God. Come on, just say it. Say it. You are a saint of God. Can you imagine that? You're sitting beside a saint. I know, natatayo yung balahibo natin sa ko pala ito katabi mo. You can't believe that your husband's a saint. But that's how God views us. God says we are saints. You don't have to wait to die before you are called a saint. Saints in the Bible are still alive. Today, saints are already dead. But that's not biblical. Because the word saint simply means set apart. A saint is someone who's been set apart for God. For example, How do you know the cars in the Philippines that the car is government owned? How do you know it in the Philippines? The plate number is red, and then there's a wording on the side of the vehicle. What's the wording? What does it say? For official use also. I mean only. Alright? For official use only. You know what, friends? When you became born again, when you pray to receive the Lord Jesus Christ, you receive a mark. And the mark says, for God's use only. That makes you a saint. You are a saint of God. The problem is, we allow Satan to use us as well. At times. But friends, we are saints of God. It's our being that determines the doing. And so, brothers and sisters, that statement becomes so powerful, we cannot rise above our present predicament unless we know our real identity. I'm loved by God, I'm a saint of God, and then realize our true potential. And so this morning, after our lunch this afternoon, when you go through those doors right there, if you go out that door believing you're still a sinner, then friends, you'll do what a sinner does. But if you go out that door believing that you're a saint of God, friends, it will make a world of difference. It will change the way you treat your wife. It will change the way you treat your children because you're a saint of God. It will even change the way you drive on 401. Because a saint of God will not drive the way some of us are driving on 401. Let me close with this story and then we're done. I love this story of an American Indian who found an eagle's egg, and then he scooped this eagle's egg, removed it from its nest, and then placed it on the nest of prairie chicken. So this is an eagle's egg, but it was placed on the nest of prairie chicken. Now, we don't have prairie chickens in the Philippines, but a prairie chicken looks like this. That's a prairie chicken. And so the eagle's egg hatched, and it begins to grow up, looking to his dad, a prairie chicken, looking to his mom, a prairie chicken. He grew up believing he's a prairie chicken. And so he did what prairie chickens did. He scratched in the dirt for seeds and insects to eat. And when he flew, just a few feet above the ground, just a few thrusting of his wings, the same way prairie chickens are supposed to fly. And then one day, he saw a magnificent bird far above him in the cloudless sky, hanging with graceful majesty on the powerful wind currents. And this eagle was wondering. He said, "What a beautiful bird! What is it?" And his neighbor, a prairie chicken neighbor, said, "That's an eagle, the chief of the birds." And then warned him, "But don't give it a second thought. You could never be like him." So the eagle never gave it a second thought. And the eagle died thinking that he's a prairie chicken. That's tragic, isn't it? It's so tragic. Why? Because he didn't realize his true identity, and that's why he wasn't able to experience his full potential. But friends, let me tell you something more tragic than an eagle dying believing that it's a prairie chicken. Something more tragic than that is a born-again Christian, a Christian who already received the Lord Jesus Christ. He's been washed in the blood, he's been baptized in water, he's been filled with the Holy Spirit, and yet this Christian is living a defeated life, is burdened by guilt, is distorted by bad habits, he's ravaged by a bad conscience, he's hardened by self-indulgence, he's disfigured by sin. Nothing can be more tragic than that. That's not who we are. We are the saints of God. We are loved by God. Continue running the race, whatever it is in front of you, whatever hurdle you have to jump over. Realize your true potential. God did not save you to keep wallowing in sin. He saved you so that you can soar in the sky. Amen. Friends, we can rise above our present predicament unless we know our real identity and realize our true potential. Friends, to face our predicament, we need to understand that our true person determines our full potential. Our true person determines our full potential. And this is why the Apostle Paul could end this letter with these words, and I'm sure you've quoted this verse before, Philippians 4:19. He said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Come on, let's read this all together. Ready, read. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Do you believe that verse?
Amen.
I mean, do you really believe that verse? Mas lalo kumina. Do you really believe that verse? Philippians 4:13. What this verse is saying is that, friends, there's nothing you and I are going to experience in the future. There's no problem you and God cannot solve. There's no situation you and God cannot manage. There's no crisis you and God cannot handle. There's no hurdle you and God cannot overcome. There is no challenge you and God cannot face. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's who we are. That's our full potential. And so, friends, if you are to keep running this race, number one, we need to fulfill our purpose. And what's our purpose, friends? If you are to keep running this race, we need to forget our past. We need to do what? To keep running this race, we need to face our predicament. We need to understand that our true person determines our full potential. Let me invite the worship team to join me here. The worship team. We'll be singing a song, some commitment song. We'll be singing with them, but halfway through the song, we will open this space right here, just for anyone who would like to make this commitment. This is a significant day for JRM, not only as a church, but it should be significant to you personally. If you want